All right, so you got a million things that you could do. You've got a million things that you're interested in. You have a ton of different tools. You've invested in yourself, and all that stuff has worked to a degree, but none of it's really landed for you. None of it's really making as much sense as you want it to. You still don't have the clarity. You still don't have the direction. You still don't really know what it is that you're here to do. And you recognize that clarity is essential. Like, you need to have clarity. You need to have clarity in order to stick with something long enough in order to see it through, but you don't know how to get that clarity. Well, what if you have clarity wrong? What if you're thinking about clarity the wrong way? Hi, I'm Jason, by the way, and I know a thing or two about clarity. I went from living homeless without purpose, without any sort of clarity, without direction, to graduating from an Ivy League school, to working for high-level venture-backed startups in Silicon Valley, to being part of a small team who exited for well into 10 figures, to building multiple six-figure businesses where I feel a ton of purpose, a ton of alignment, a ton of passion about what I'm doing. And the way I've arrived at clarity is not what you think. First, let's sort of unpack what I mean by clarity. Clarity is the sense that you feel like you are doing exactly what you want to be doing in any moment. Clarity is the sense that there's no doubt of maybe I should be doing this, maybe I should be doing that. And there's a natural energy cycle to what you're doing. What I mean by that is, as you are putting your energy into things, the results that you're getting are naturally pouring energy back into you. And there's a sense like, I could do this for a long time. This feels really good. This feels clear. This feels energizing. The problem that people run into is that when they don't have that, it can be very confusing. So you put a little bit of energy into a side project, or you put a little bit of energy into a business, and you get started and you get some momentum and everything feels good. But then something happens. That momentum starts to fade, and then you feel like you're back at square one with nothing really to show for it. This is super common in the students that I work with, and this pattern was something that I used to do as well. And I've put together 5 tips that help you change your relationship to clarity so that you can have more of it, have more confidence, and be more in the flow. And the trick here is really that clarity doesn't come from thinking. Clarity is a function of movement. Imagine a room in your house. Imagine in that room is your exact clear plan, your exact clarity that you're looking for. Right now, you are not in that room, and you're trying to imagine what that could be like. You're walking around the hallways thinking, I wonder what that's going to feel like, versus actually moving yourself to the place where things become more clear. And that leads us to point number 1. Take bold action daily. And this is something I stress with my students all the time. You need to be taking bold action daily. And what boldness means is really up to you. I've told my students that sometimes bold action might be something as simple as performing a Google search that is the start of a longer process that you've been putting off for weeks. It could be reaching out to someone. It could be contacting someone in your network. It could be filling out a job application. It could be promoting your services online. It could be creating a flyer. It could be doing anything that is outside of the normal patterns that you've been falling into. As a human being, you are wired to crave comfort. You are wired to crave certainty. The only problem with this is that your realm of certainty, that which you already know, contains everything in your life, everything that you have already, which I imagine is not including the level of clarity, the level of purpose, the level of meaning, the level of fulfillment that you're really looking for. And so in order to get what it is that you're really looking for, you have to extend beyond what is comfortable. And I'll be the first to admit, extending beyond what is comfortable does not feel good. It's not going to feel comfortable. What you can do though, and we're going to talk a little bit about this later, is you can meet what's coming up with love, warmth, grace, and compassion so that it becomes easier and more sustainable to move as you go along. But we're going to touch on that later. The most important thing here is to really consider that bold action is the key. Ask yourself, what bold action did I take today? Do at least one thing. Even if it's small, even if you think it's small, even if a part of you feels like that's not enough, doing one bold thing per day will shift your life and it'll bring you into that room where clarity exists. Key to clarity number 2. Now, you can have bold action, but if you don't have point number 2, you are going to be lost. And point number 2 is to be an observer of what nourishes you and what depletes you. This is where you need to break out of the stories that you're telling yourself, the things that your parents told you that you wanted, the strategies that you think look good on paper, the things that you find yourself attached to. And what you need to start doing is becoming an observer of your own energy. So, did you feel more energized or did you feel more depleted by taking the actions that you took? Now, some actions might not be fun. Sending out your resume might not be fun. But the question to ask yourself is, do you feel more energized or do you feel more depleted after doing it? And the answer for you could be different at different parts of your journey. So what might be energizing during one day or 1 week or 1 month or 1 year might not be true later on in your life. The practice is to become acutely aware of what actually is giving you energy and what is actually draining you. Let's say, for instance, that you've been wanting to look into a new career or wanting to apply to jobs for quite some time, and you haven't been submitting your resume to places. Well, submitting your resume might actually feel really energizing to send to the first few places. But if you've been sending resumes out day after day after day for months and months on end, submitting your resume to places might actually feel draining. And so the key is listening to what your body is telling you about what is energizing and what is depleting. When you do this, you will continue to feed yourself with more and more energy to do the things that make the difference. There are a lot of ways to get to where you're going. There's a lot of ways to get to clarity. There's a lot of ways to get to meaning and purpose and fulfillment. The most important thing is that you keep moving. And if you allow yourself to deplete yourself, you will run out of energy. Speaking of running out of energy, let's consider key number 3 for clarity. And this is to set boundaries in the places where you hide. What do I mean by this? Well, right now, there are places in your life, in your experience, in your consciousness where you are hiding. You're afraid to be seen. You're afraid of the uncomfortable. You're afraid of doing hard work. You are confused. I had a mentor whose name was Julian, and he always used to say to me, confusion is a wonderful place to hide. So the question is, where are you hiding? Where are you hiding right now? Where are you avoiding? What are the things that you do that pull yourself away from the purpose, the meaning, and the fulfillment that you're looking for? Because when you do this, and you do this on a regular basis, you're robbing your ability to access clarity. So what you need to do here is set some boundaries around those areas. Let's say, for instance, I have a tendency to scroll on social media when I get overwhelmed, when I get confused, when I get triggered by something that happens in my life, in my business. What I do is create boundaries for myself in those areas. So for example, I might say, I am committed to posting on social media before I scroll on social media. And when I make these sort of agreements, it's actually really important to follow through on them. So for example, if you made an agreement like this, you did the post, but then all of a sudden you didn't want to go on social media, it actually erodes your sense of trust in yourself if you don't actually give yourself that time and space to do the thing that's sort of naughty, or the thing that is actually not completely aligned. So take the things, set the boundaries, and then give yourself the gift after. I alluded to this earlier, but key to clarity number 4 has to do with sitting with your emotions, sitting with your pain, and sitting with your discomfort. So many of the problems that are leading to the downfall of your experience in life have to do with you simply avoiding sitting with yourself, sitting with that discomfort, and using things to distract yourself. Me, for example, for much of my life, I used things like food, alcohol, drugs to disassociate from the discomfort that I was feeling in my body. What I've come to learn is that when I truly give myself the space to actually just feel what I'm feeling, without resistance, with a place of acceptance, with a place of grace and warmth and compassion and curiosity, patience, that the discomfort and the feelings surrounding it actually just move through relatively quickly. I had a situation recently where I was experiencing a lot of grief and I was feeling really, really heavy, and it was really hard for me to move through the work that I was doing. And so I just put the work aside for a minute and I lied down on the floor. I felt the grief. I felt myself processing some really deep sadness about losing my mentor, Julian, who I spoke about earlier. And the relationship that I had with my dad and even my wife traveling all happened at once. And I found myself just in a place of grief. And what I normally would have done would have been to just force my way through it, just ignore it, just keep moving. Instead, I took 20 minutes to lie down, I curled up in a ball, and I just felt what I was feeling. I appreciated what I was feeling. I didn't try and fix it. I didn't try and change it. And after 20 minutes, it was as if the wave had just passed. And this is what happens when you sit with yourself, is that rather than fighting against yourself, you can actually create more ease, more energy, more flow if you just do what is required of you or what your body is asking for in the particular moment. And a question I get all the time is like, well, what if I end up just lying there on the floor all day long? Like, what if I, take a break and then my body just needs a full day? Like, what's going to happen? And I tell people, like, truly, if you think about it, how productive, how effective are you going to be if your body needed to take a full 24 hours just to process whatever it was going through? How productive do you think that you would be if you never processed that? What do you think your week would look like? What do you think your month would look like if you never gave yourself that time, if it were that bad? And rarely is it that bad. Not that it's good or bad, but you know what I'm saying. Give yourself the time and space to feel what is there, to feel what is feeling. You are a human being. You experience deep, powerful emotions. You don't need to rationalize them. You don't need to explain them. You don't need to intellectualize them. Just feel them. Give yourself the time, give yourself the space to feel them in those moments, and it's going to make a world of difference for you. And the final key to clarity, point number 5, is to recognize that clarity is not a fixed thing that you attain, but an ongoing process. I feel more clear today than I've ever felt before, and I'm 10 times more clear today than I was 2 weeks ago. It is an ongoing process. The key is follow all the other steps. Be in motion. Keep doing the things. Don't allow yourself to get caught in the story of, I can't act until I'm clear. I can't push through a hard thing until I know how it's going to work out, or I know it's going to be worth it. Do the hard things. Push through your uncomfortabilities. Meet the resistance with love, warmth, and compassion so that it becomes sustainable, and do this over and over and over and over again. There are no quick fixes when it comes to clarity. It takes work, it takes patience, and it takes persistence. And if you stick with it and you incorporate the tools that I share with you today, you are going to get more clear. You will be more clear in a month than you are now. You're going to be even more clear in 3 months, and you're going to be even more clear in 6 months to a year. And if you're looking to be supported in this process, I know it can be really hard. You may be a perfect fit for the Flow Code, which is our collective of people that are doing this type of work together, supporting one another, holding each other accountable to the things that we say we want to do, and being part of an awesome, loving community. Let me know. I'll include the link in the description. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.